post that they used in the Welland Canal. What they would do is they went into the canal system, the sailors on board would lower the sails, the people on land would give them a rope to wrap around it, and then horse-mules oxen would tow the vessel through the about 30-mile journey between Lakes Erie and Ontario. After that, you're going to see the forward companionway, and that is where the anchor chains came out and those metal hawseyes that are coming through the deck. The anchor would have sat right there on the deck. The metal protected the wood from excessive wear as the chain went up and down from the hold. Now, as we go down, you're going to notice that the vessel is going to slant away from us. It was built to those specifications to allow rain or sea spray to drain off the deck. As you look at the deck, you can see every board. We are very lucky here in Lake Superior. We do not have any quagga or zebra mussels in this area. And if you were in one of the lower Great Lakes, Huron, Michigan, Erie, or Ontario, the shipwreck would be covered with shells, and the mussels would be eating the shipwreck. So we're very fortunate they're not here, and that's because of either the cold water or the lack of calcium around here for their shells. We're now going to look for two round holes in the deck. The first one you're going to see is 3 feet in diameter. That would have had the forward mast, or the forward masthead. The mast itself was 110 feet long. It would have been made out of white pine. The ship itself is made out of white oak. As we go on, you're going to see another smaller hole that's 1 foot in diameter. That is the bilge pump hole. There's actually two. The one is next door and has a cover on it. That's where those sailors would have been pumping the hole that final night. As we go backwards, we're going to be going over the forward cargo hatch, which is the larger of the two cargo hatches. Everything that went in here went in either by hand, bucket, wheelbarrow, or some kind of rope and pulley system. They would come into the dock. It would take them a week to unload their cargo and load it back up. And they would hire local people for $1 a day to help them do that. Now, as we head past the forward cargo hatch, you're going to see towards the port side, both the Bermuda and the Shipwreck Express you're on, which is the left side, it broken open. That happened in 1884. What they did is the salvagers brought this over from where our mill is today. They put it here where it was quieter. They took a log boom, and you'll see that log coming out of the deck. The best way to look for it is a rounded end. They would pick it up, drop it down, pick it up, drop it down, until they cracked open that deck. Now, why did they crack open that deck? Well, one, they needed to get light in here. Remember, it's 1884. The technology for diving down below is very rudimentary. Second, they wanted their divers down there. They would have had the leather suits, the brass helmets. Their air hose would have connected to the helmet. The air hose would have snaked up through the water where someone up here on that vessel would have been pumping the air down to their friends. Hopefully your best friends on the pump. And then third, they wanted to get out of here quickly. So the longer they stayed here, the less profit they made. Now, also tucked up between the forward cargo hatch and the rear cargo hatch is a centerboard. If you're unfamiliar with the term centerboard, think of a sailboat out of the water. It's that fin sticking down. Well, this centerboard was movable. So what they would do is they would raise the centerboard into what used to be a watertight compartment, and they would go into port or into the canal system. If they were in the lower or the deeper lakes, like Superior, they would lower it down for stability of the vessel. And as we head towards the back of the vessel, as you go, you will see some gravelly-like substance on the deck. That's just the high-grade iron ore that you would, they dropped when they were doing the salvage operation. approaching the rear of the vessel. And you'll see the rear cargo hatch. Again, this is the smaller of the two cargo hatches. And that really explains why they broke open that deck. They didn't have a lot of time here. They need to get it done in a season, so they wanted to get it out. So now, after the rear cargo hatch, between there and the cabin trunk area, which is the next big opening, you're going to see a barrel. And it's just the top of it. This barrel would have been the Rubbermaid container of yesteryear. They made the barrels watertight, so they would have had flour, sugar, maybe rails, or different materials they needed to keep dry in there. Then as we go over the cabin trunk area, it's the size of a 2-car garage. And it's about 20 by 20. Now as we go over it, you're going to see some names down below that are 4 feet below the deck. The cabin would have came up 4 feet above the deck, so needless to say, we would not be able to do this if the cabin was still here today. Also straddling it is a 55-foot section of the port side rail. That port side rail came off in the 60s or 70s. It was a windy day, and what happened is the dive boats used to tie directly up to the wrecks. And what happened is they pulled it off when the wind took them off the wreck. Today, to help protect the wreck, we tie up to the 2 white buoys in order to keep it safe. We don't want any anchors in the wreck to rip it apart. Now in this cabin, they would have taken their meals, gotten out of the weather. They would have maybe swapped some tall tales. But remember, there were only 5 guys on this vessel, so when it was underway, there were 5 people taking naps and other than big vessels for 5 people. Now this is a very popular dive site. It is very rare to see a fully intact vessel in less than 30 feet of water. Divers usually have to dive 60 feet or deeper to see a fully intact vessel. So this weekend we had divers out here, and the new divers did their classes on this. And those of you who had been through the classes were able to penetrate the rock and go inside and check it out. As we head back, we're going to leave this this cabin trunk area. You're going to see the rear companionway. The rear companionway is a squarish opening when you see it. And it would have had a ladder to go down to the door for the cabin. And what they would do is it was a pole basically with pegs for the sailors, nothing too elaborate. Now we're headed back towards the stern rail, and you can see the rudder post turning a nice orangish brown. It's been sitting in Lake Superior for 155 years. The ship itself is 165 years old with 10 years on top of it. The rudder is still fully intact down below, but unfortunately we can't see it from our perspective because of the slant of the marines. And now we're going over my favorite part of the vessel. This is the stern rail. And as you look into that stern rail, think about what they had to do to build this vessel. About the only power tool they had back then would have been a water-powered sauna. Every nail would have went in by hand, every cross-cut